Man, the world is coming to an end.
Relax, it is not that bad.
Yes, it is. Everyday humans are using up the renewable resources that our Earth holds.
So what? There are plenty of resources still left in the world.
That doesn't matter. The resources that the human race is using take millions of years to form, yet the human race will use them all up in a few centuries. One example is the resources used for energy.
Like I said, do not worry, there is plenty of oil to use. Plus, there is coal.
That may be so, but most of what humans use for energy is non-renewable resources. To slow down our damage to the Earth, we will need to start using renewable energy sources like wind energy.
Wind energy is cool and all, but it has many disadvantages.
That may be true, but the advantages outweigh the disadvantages.
What advantages are you talking about?
For one thing, wind turbines can be built on farms or ranches, thus benefiting the economy in rural areas.
But what about the fact that lots of land is needed for the turbines?
Well, farmers and ranchers can still continue to work the land around the turbine since the turbine only takes up a fraction of the land. Plus, these farmers and ranchers can end up receiving $3,000 to $10,000 a year in royalties for each turbine erected on a small plot of land.
That is cool, I guess, but what about the fact that steady winds are needed? Winds do not blow all of the time and therefore would require a backup system to run when wind is low. These backup systems would have to run on non-renewable resources like coal and oil.
Actually, that is not true. The backup system could actually be coming from solar energy produced nearby. As for the steady winds, wind turbines could be put in the 4 Great Plains states.
What are the 4 Great Plains states?
These 4 states are North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, and Texas. Having wind turbines in these 4 states actually is a double bonus since these areas are some of the country's least densely populated areas, and scientists believe having wind farms in these 4 states can be very favorable.
How are the states of North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, and Texas favorable?
Well, according to scientists, these 4 states could produce nearly 3 times the total amount of electricity currently generated from all United States power plants.
Even with all that, there is still the problem of the environmental costs. One of which is that each year up to 40,000 birds and bats are killed by wind turbines.
That may be true, but that is because most wind turbines that exist today were built 20 years ago from now outdated designs.
It does not make a difference if the turbines were built today or 20 years ago. They are still in the way of birds and bats.
Actually, it does. 20 years ago, wind turbines were sometimes built in bird migration corridors. Now, wind power developers are making sophisticated studies of bird migration paths in order to avoid the building of wind turbines in the way of migration paths. After all, if the wind farm is not built along the migration route, the birds will just fly around it.
Even if wind turbines are now being built out of the way of migration routes, there are still all of the old turbines that are in use.
Well, someday when enough new turbines have been built, the old ones will be torn down.
That is good news, but what about the fact that having turbines around create visual pollution? One example of this is that offshore wind turbines do not look nice to coastal towns and cities.
Well, new turbine technology are being created that would be anchored on floating platforms far enough from shore to be invisible to coastal residents. Therefore, no visual pollution. Plus, a 2005 study done by the United States Department of Energy estimated that offshore wind resources within 9 to 18 kilometers off the coastline could produce enough electricity to meet all of the country's current electricity needs.
I still do not think that wind energy will become popular to the world. Even after all of the reasons that you gave to counter-argue my reasons against wind energy.
It may not seem like it is growing, but since the 1990 wind power has been the world's second fastest growing source of energy. Wind energy will play a critical role in saving this planet from the damage being done by humans.
Again, you really need to cut out the end of the world stuff. Even if you have good points supporting the use of wind energy, no one will take you seriously if they think that you are nuts.
I guess you are right. Thanks for calming me down and debating with me.
No problem. It was quite fun to debate with you.